Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit, England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit, England, the Prime Minister, the Indian stick insect, believes that if your parents don't send you to a private school, then you are a big fat loser. And they're also losers too if your parents don't send you to private school, because that's the way how Rishi Sunak thinks, right? That's the way how they, especially when people like him have been rich their whole life. Because forget all this pretense, about that his parents struggled to put him through that school. No, they didn't. It's just that is just complete ridiculous, just nonsense, right? Because let me tell you this, right? I used to have like a laundrette, right? And my landlord, right, was a doctor, right, who had about 35 properties, right. He had a surgery over in Tooting, right. Massive surgery. I mean, this thing was absolutely, and he had on the side of it, he had attached the pharmacy, right. And I think him and his sons was like doctors. But these guys was pulling in massive money because he used his doctor's salary, to buy houses and to buy commercial properties. So I could imagine that Rishi Sunak's dad is much the same, right? Because you're talking about someone who's like a doctor. I don't know whether he's a GP, but let me tell you, just a standard GP will pull in its 3 or 4 times like whatever the standard wage is, right? They'll put in 3 or 4 times that. So these people are pretty wealthy in the first place. And then obviously his mum's a pharmacist as well. And pharmacists will, as opposed to a GP, a pharmacist will probably be paid about 10 grand less than a GP gets, right? But then you've got to remember a pharmacy, right? They're all independent businesses as well. So they will make, so pharmacists will make, now they'll make over 100 grand a year. Pharmacists will, a GP will probably make about 110, 115,000 pounds a year. That's just, that's not a surgeon. That's just a standard GP, right? So when Rishi Sunak is talking about, your parents didn't send you to boarding school, right? So that makes you a fucking loser, right? When he's telling you that, right, when you think with these guys, Rishi Sunak especially, he often says the quiet part out loud. That when he told people, oh well, you know what, I take from the less well off and I give it to wealthy people, right? In the same way that he took £6 million and gave it to his old school. Right? I think it's out of his own pocket, right? And everyone can say, well, you know what, who cares what he does with his own money? But when you're talking about a school that's got like a Rotary club and a shooting club and all these things within it, rowing clubs, and so they've already got everything, right? But you've got teachers in your normal secondary schools having to buy food for some of the kids in the school, or buy them, or might even have to buy them clothes, or buy them like tampons and all these type of things, right? And the schools, our secondary schools. Imagine if someone gave them even £600,000, let alone 6 million, what he gave to his old school, right? So when this fool is telling you about, oh well, you know something, yeah, your parents didn't send you to a private school, yeah, so that makes you an arse. When he's telling you that, right, he's deadly serious as well. Do you know what I mean? Because look where he took his money and gave it to, rather than say, you know what, I could split this money up and give it to loads of different secondary schools, right, to help them out. A lot of them can't even heat their buildings. Right? But this fool is giving £6 million to a school who has a rowing club. And we've got to remember with all these private schools, which obviously they like to call them down as they like to call them public schools, first of all, because that I don't know why, but for some reason that seems to take away the private element of it. But these private schools, they have 4 or 5 rugby pitches, and football pitches, and tennis courts, and they'll have everything in them, right? And then you have this, and they'll have you have 10 or 12 children to a class, right? And in your secondary school, there's ran around with 30 kids to a class, and a lot of them haven't even got a playing field. but yet for all, the private school has somehow managed to get, a charity state. This is the thing with these people, right? In this country, the less well off will always pay for the rich. However you look at it, always will pay for the rich. Because just look at the House of the Parliament. I mean, they're all rich in there. And look what we pay for them. I mean, we pay for them to have one of the world's greatest wine cellars in the world. I mean, these guys get stuff on a silver platter. And when I say a silver platter, I mean an actual silver platter. For how when these guys are getting there, if they get a glass of Chardonnay, it will come on a silver platter. Right, so this is what's always been the case. The less well off has always paid for these people, right? And it just amazes me that someone like Rishi Sunak. Listen, I'm very pleased that Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister, because I know how much it's winded up. The hardcore like Nigel Farage. I mean, Schwarzenegger in the forehead, right? Them people there, they're the ones that's really, really winding them up really hard. And I mean, if you see like the what happened to the Tories in they had a by-election the other day, and Labour increased their majority over them, because they had a small majority, but they increased it. But that seat is like that seat. Whoever is in normally whoever's in power normally has that seat. So it's quite strange that Labour's got that seat while they're not in power. But it's the amount of that Labour put on their majority was just unbelievable. I mean, if they have swings like that all over the country, then the Tories are in real trouble, right? But as I was saying, about Rishi Sunak, right? This man, right, constantly just tells you, because obviously he's pissed because Keir Starmer is bringing up. He thinks Keir Starmer's having a go at him about his background, right? And Keir Starmer's trying to bring up this thing about, private schools should not be charities, because why should we pay for, because there's so much people, who can pay to give their child a head start, because that's what private schools is, right? You're trying to give your children, put your children in front of all of the other kids in this country. That's why people send their children to private school. You can forget the education level. They know, getting their children into private school gets them to meet a lot of the correct people. It depends on what private school you go to. Obviously, you need to go to somewhere like Eton or Winchester. There's a few more. If you're just going to a private school that's just round the corner from your house, then you're probably not going to meet future prime ministers and African princes and young sheikhs and all these type of things, because those are the people who go to Eton and go to Winchester and go to all those very expensive, the ones that cost like 45 grand a year to send your child to, right? Those ones are the ones where you meet all the people that they want, that they need them to really meet. So that's what it's about. But Rishi Sunak was really pissed that and then obviously he's just gone on to just start lying about normal secondary schools, just saying stuff that's simply not true, But this is something that we've come to expect from a brown Boris Johnson. Yeah. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. We're going to start in America with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is being mocked by the Russians over his run for the presidency. The Russians just openly just mocking him on on Russian TV over there. I was watching some, it's like subtitles, and the subtitles was going past so fast, but the bits that I saw, I could catch up on, but was just hilariously funny how they're just completely mocking Donald Trump. But I think Donald Trump is getting that all over the world. I think he's just getting that all over the world. I don't know how he is at the moment. Obviously, he's going to be the front runner because the MAGA crowd, or as we like to call them, the MAGA terrorists, because that's what they are. They're all a bunch of terrorists, right? Because they're in support. These people are in support of the January 6th, of all these people from January 6th, and that makes them, terrorist supporters. I mean, imagine if you had Muslims coming out in support, right, of a horrific attack that had been carried out by Muslims. Imagine if you had Muslims coming out in support of that in over here in the West. Imagine that. But these people could openly support people who they saw beating police officers. Right? They saw them doing it. Right? And these people are still, you've still got people in Congress, right, in full support, wanting to actually take out inquiries about, the treatment of the January 6th terrorists. Want to take out inquiries about their treatment because they've had bad treatment. I think they should ask the police officers what they think of how bad these people's treatment was. What's his name? Officer Falone. I think they should ask him what he thinks. Because I'm sure he's the one who got tased with his own taser and he had a heart attack and he's the one who got dragged. You see him getting dragged. Or the other one who they were squeezing up in the door. Or one who's been bit. So much of the Capitol police officers was nearly beaten to death. Right? And you've got people openly supporting them. And you have to say, well, what kind of fucked up? Only white people could do that. Black or Asian people could never, ever support terrorist acts like that. We would be crucified. Absolutely. Could you imagine that? Imagine Muslims supporting one of the attacks on the bridges. Right? Imagine Muslims coming out in support of that. Or when the police officer, when the guy murdered the police officer outside the House of Parliament. Imagine Muslims openly being in support of that, openly, and saying, well, so I think that guy should be released from prison. Because that right is what these January 6 people are doing. That's what they're doing, right? They are openly supporting terrorists, and it's really, really shocking that they can do it openly and get away with it. If Muslims was doing that, I think, right? Imagine that Amjan Chowdhury, they'd throw his ass in prison again, literally guaranteed. Right, but these people can openly. Even over here, we've got people who will look at that and be in support of it over here. But if you're in support of the Republicans, then you're in support of that. So you can't tell me, well, I'm in support of the Republicans, but I'm not in support. Yes, you are. If you're in support of the Republicans, you're in support of that as well. You're in support of all of it. And it's disgusting, because imagine if it was black people, or if it was Asian people, or if it was some type of brown people. Just imagine what the reaction would be, what the worldwide reaction would be. Donald Trump has paid, in the last 10 out of 15 years, he had paid $750 in tax from a billionaire. £79,000 in haircuts. Donald Trump, £79,000 in hair. Was it a hairstyle or hair don't? Is it a hair do or hair don't? I think hair don't with Donald Trump. But he got $72 million, right, in a tax return. $72 million tax return. Sorry, you know what? Actually, I read that wrong. Donald Trump paid no tax the last 10 out of 15 years. And in 2016, 2017, that he was president then, or that's the year he became president, right? he paid $750 in tax. He's claimed £79,000 in haircuts. That's unbelievable, really. I don't know who's been doing his hair. But whatever it was, all I can say is he's been getting robbed. But I don't believe that. I believe he probably does his hair himself. Melania would have looked at me like, I don't care. So he got a $72 million tax return, right? From that's when Obama was president, because for some reason they made it really easy for these big business people to just claim whatever taxes they want, and they just rushed it through for some reason. I don't know why, but apparently at the time he was laughing his head off about it. But that is the thing that sparked the whole audit thing with him. That's what done that, right? Because if he didn't start mocking about it, right, he probably would have got away with it. If he didn't stand up there and say, well, I didn't pay taxes because I'm smart, he probably would have got away with it. But he done all that foolishness, right? And that's the reason why they've gone after him. But that $72 million, right, is repayable. He's gonna have to pay that back. Right. So and I know he's got something like another 100 million that's due, I think next year or something like that. But that as well, right? And obviously there's going to be taxes on top of that, right? But I don't think he realises, that people get jailed for that's what happened to Al Capone, remember? So people get jailed for that type of shit. So I don't think he actually, I think he still thinks that he's well above the law. But I'll tell you something, with this new Jack Smith, because Donald Trump has been talking about this guy's wife, his sister-in-law, and all sorts of different people. He's been pulling out the woodwork about this guy, and I from what I know about this guy so far, because I've just read a few bits, he's a no-nonsense prosecutor, right? So Donald Trump really needs to watch his stupid ass hair. Yeah. Yeah. 2 members of the Oath Keepers have been found guilty of seditious conspiracy. Stuart Rose and Kelly Meggs. Remember Stuart Rose? He's the one who shot himself in the face. So obviously we know that he would definitely be a Brexiter, because only a Brexiter could shoot themselves in the... And you say, how the hell do you shoot yourself in the... when you're cleaning your gun? Well, we've got to say this can't have been a revolver, right? And then why, right, while you're cleaning your gun, have you got it pointed to your face like this? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? When you're cleaning your gun, you're supposed to clean it up like that. Right? The gun's never supposed to be pointed at you. There's no reason to point the gun at yourself while you're cleaning it, especially if you don't know that you've got one in the chamber. Because we've got to say, you know what? You would have to be doubly stupid to shoot yourself in the face with a revolver. So we've got to say this was a gag, some type of 9mm or something like that. Right? There's no way you could shoot yourself, not with a revolver, because you would be so stupid, right, that you would have voted for Brexit and still claim, right, that it's working. See, that's how stupid the Brexiters are. Anyway, so this seditious conspiracy. I mean, these guys, are going to be tucked up, right? They probably won't come out of prison again. Do you know what I mean? Unless obviously Marjorie Taylor Greene can get them out, because they are from January the 6th, and she does believe, right, that these people have been treated rather badly. Right, even though they've been convicted, right, of seditious conspiracy, right, which is something you never want to hear a jury member say guilty of that, right, because that carries it's a minimum, I think it's a minimum of 20, 25 years or something like that. But then obviously you've got the other thing where, obstruction of Congress, which also carries 15 or 20 years as well. So... unfortunately for him, right, the guy who shot him, because he's with an eye patch, he shot himself in the face, right, but unfortunately for him, right, his ass, I don't think his ass is going to be seeing sunshine for, well, who's really pleased about it is his ex-wife. I've never seen a woman so ecstatic about her ex-husband being locked the hell up. But yeah, she was too happy about it. Far too happy. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Has anybody anywhere in the world called their child Cyril in the last 30 years? Probably not. Right, but Cyril Ramaphosa, right, has reported that he had stolen in a burglary from his house and the money was in the settee. Now, I know what you're thinking. Money always drops down the settee. Right, if you're sitting down and you've got some trousers on or whatever, do you know what I mean? And you sit down and next thing you know, there's £3.64, right, at the back of the set, and you think, oh, do I need to get that out now? No, man, I'll just wait one day till, you know what, I ain't got no money on me, right, and I'm going to go into the back of the sofa and see what's down there. Do you know what I mean? I might get £11. I might get, I might get £15.54p. But Cyril Ramaphosa, he had between $500,000 and $5 million in his sofa. What if the sofa doubles up as a safe? Of course, that probably didn't though, because the burglars managed to get it. So, why the hell you got 500,000? In fact, let's just take away the 500,000 and let's just go straight for the 5 million. Let's say it was probably 5 million and over that was in the settee. Well, because if you had money like that stolen, I think it was about 500 grand. Well, it could have been 500 to 5 million. Really, you think there's no difference between 500,000 and 5 million? Right, there's going to be a big difference in how much notes there are. That's the thing, right? But you just said, what the hell would you be doing with that money? But apparently he had it because he had sold buffalo to some, I can't remember words. I think someone from the Middle East apparently had bought buffalo. But when they went to look, the same buffalo that he had sold was still on his land. Say, oh, right. I don't understand these African leaders. Every one of them, right? Nelson, the only one I could think of who wasn't really corrupt was obviously like Nelson Mandela, right? But, Winnie was corrupt enough for the two of them, right? But, every single one of these African leaders just seem to be so fucking corrupt. Just the greed is just, it's just unbelievable. No wonder white people looked at them and thought, you know something? Yeah, you people are so corrupt, we're just going to take everything that you got because you know something, that's all you're going to do. So we might as well take it rather than you take it and put it in some fucking Swiss bank. Next thing you end up in the fucking Hague and, you got £1 billion from your African country in the Swiss fucking bank while you're in prison or dead. Where's that money go then? The Swiss is just like, we know nothing about that money. But how much money the Swiss must have just been like, yeah, it's out our hands. Yeah, it's in our bank, but it's out our hands. So, but the person's dead or they're locked up. Yeah, but we can't do anything about that. The Swiss must just have billions, probably trillions of money that's come out of Africa and gone there. Do you know what I mean? It's just like. But, so he's probably going to get impeached, which serves his ass right. And Kanye West is making a real nuisance of himself. But you see, the thing is, right, this situation with Kanye West, right, is a situation that people have been trying to get for the longest of time. You see, to understand this situation, right, what Kanye West is in, you have to be able to understand the Overton window. If you can understand the Overton window, then you can understand, right, how well the far right have done so far, because they've never been able to get anti-Semitism through the over. It's always been it always had a brief look through, and then it was always pushed back. And this time, they've managed to make it step through the Overton window and come into the mainstream. Because that's what the Overton window is about. It's about, think tanks. Your think tank, right, will bring policies to the public, right, that can be, there can be decent policies. It can be say like it can be a decent policy. It can be something that works out for everybody, right? Or it can be, right, something that is nasty, horrible, a really like something that people no, you can forget that. That's disgusting. But, right, they find a way of bringing it to the public. Just try and find a softer way of bringing it to the public. And I don't know if these guys, I personally don't know if these guys know anything about the actual Overton window itself, but that's the tactic. And I blame Jewish people. Because Jewish people have allowed him to walk through, to allowed him to walk through the Overton window. They've allowed this to happen. And they've allowed this to happen, right, by calling people like me, Jeremy Corbyn, Ken Livingstone, calling all those type of people anti-Semitic, when they have got nothing about, like me, we've got nothing against Jewish people, got a problem with Israel. And there's a massive difference. You should never start calling people anti-Semitic about Israel, because what that has done is that has made you start to more cozy up to the right wing and to the far right as well, cozying up to Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump going to Israel, Netanyahu, welcome President Trump. I looked at that and I thought, I don't think you people actually realise what the fuck you're doing here. Because I'll put to you in very simple terms, very, very simple terms, but it involves pork. But it's the story of the three little pigs, right? The Jewish community, right, allowed, right, the wolf into the straw house without realising. That's what you've done. Because you see, nobody, right, has been able to make anti-Semitism mainstream until now, right? And how long, because I don't know how long Kanye West has got, right? But let me tell you, right, I've never seen this before. Someone come out with so much anti-Semitism, so much, right? And they get so much time doing it. Normally, the Jewish community, they'll shut you down, bam, like that. You're shut down, never heard of again. That's what normally happens to people. When you look at Ken Livingstone, he's gone. Right? Look what happened to Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn's career is destroyed. Okay, oh, right. So normally the Jewish community could, but let me tell you, because not even Donald Trump, right, managed to get anti-Semitism into the mainstream. Not even Donald Trump, even though you had Charlottesville, people walking through Charlottesville saying the Jews will not replace us. Even though you had that, right, he still never managed to get it mainstream like what Kanye West has done, right? And let me tell you, right, you see, in the QAnon Bible, this will be written in, because these guys, they've got their nonsense. What they do, Q or whoever it is sends out a massive statement, and then it's every 5 or 6 words or every 2 words or something like that. They take out those words and then they can form something else. But I can guarantee you that they would if they haven't already, they're going to put Kanye West, because they can't believe, the far right cannot believe that Kanye West has come to them. He's like a blessing, right? He's a black man with a massive following, right, who is praising Hitler. Right, you know, this fool, you know, he got chucked off Twitter again yesterday because this fool decided that he was going to go and do a Star of David with a fucking swastika in the middle of it. And I just looked down and thought, what the fuck is it? Right? But you see, it would have to be, right? It would always have taken something so extreme to get anti-Semitism mainstream, because that's what's happened. It's all over the place now, right? It's everywhere now, right? And the only people that is pleasing is the far right. You know, on a normal basis, yeah, you know, when people shoot themselves in the foot, I have a good laugh about it, but this is not funny. This is not funny at all. Right, you know, I was so worried when I saw the Jewish community cozying up to Trump and to people like Boris Johnson, right? Because you're cozying up these people, and you see, us from the left have nothing but love for Jewish people. You know, if we have a you know, disagreement over Israel, we've got a disagreement over Israel. That's genuine. But the right wing, they've got pure hate for the Jewish community. And I see the Jewish community cozying up to these people. I'm like, you know, look, you know, on January the 6th, right, I'm watching this guy walk up the stairs with a Confederate flag. The guy walking up next to him is a Jewish guy. And I'm looking at, and I thought to myself, that's the worst, one of the worst pictures I've ever seen. And you know, this Jewish guy, his dad is a judge in New York City. And he's walking out, he's there with a guy, right, who probably doesn't even realise, you know, the guy with the Confederate flag probably doesn't even realise this guy's Jewish next to him. Right? You know, and I just look at that and think, well, I don't understand what these people think they're doing. But I'm telling you, that is what's happened. Right, the Overton window has been breached and anti-Semitism has come through. And whether or not the Jewish community is going to be able to put this back, you know, I really hope they can. But you see, with these things, like, you know, and sometimes these things that you can't get them, you cannot get them back in the bag. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if they will be able to, because it's gone very, very mainstream now. It's gone very, very mainstream, and you got people who can say who will be able to say things openly, be able to say, you know, stuff openly, you know, and a lot of them can put it in a way where, you know, well, I'm just questioning. I'm not saying that, but that's what's being said at the moment. So when you've got stuff, you know, because that was never allowed before, but it's allowed now. So whether or not they're going to be able to, the Jewish community can stop it, because normally the Jewish community are very, very good at this. And, you know, you see, the thing is, right, the reason why I don't find this one funny at all is because Jewish people's racist is my racist. And that's what you got to understand. Do you know what I mean? So I just hope that they can, I hope they can deal with that. And Christine McVie, she was an angel, right, from Fleetwood Mac. You know, she was probably one of the, you know, arguably like one of Britain's greatest ever songwriters. You know, I mean, she was up there with like all of the world's greats. You know, she just wrote some of the world's biggest hits, massive hits. You know, I mean, she had a massive hits, right, because she was married to what was it, Stevie McVie or Mickey McVie? Well, she was married to one of the guys from Fleetwood Mac, and she had an affair, right? And then she sung a song about how great the affair was, right? And her husband was playing bass. I just say he's a much better man than me. That's what I say, because he was there playing bass, right? While she's singing about another man, he was the guy was he was either a soundman or a lighting guy. I think he was a lighting guy. Yeah, I think he was a lighting guy, right? And yeah, she had an affair with him. Then a massive hit. She was like, because all of her, most of her songs was hits. I mean, because she joined Fleetwood Mac because she got married to I think it's Stephen McVie or Mickey. I can't remember what his name is. But she got married to him, and then a couple of years later, right, I think she joined Fleetwood Mac. But because she's so underrated, yeah, because she went to Fleetwood Mac, right, and they was already like hit makers. They already had like worldwide hits already. But then she come and she just took them to another level. She took them to a new level because she's a singer-songwriter, and she took them to a new level again. Brought them a new audience and everything. So I mean, not that their career needed reviving, but if I mean, she just took them to on a complete new level, and she was just like, she was just such a brilliant song. I mean, just a fantastic songwriter. Beautiful singer as well. Just like really good voice. But her songwriting ability was she's just up there with people like Karen Carpenter, Bob Marley, ABBA, and all those. Even Macca. I mean, she was up there with all those type of people. She was absolutely amazing songwriter. Just absolutely amazing. And we've got the Royal Mail strikes. See, the Royal Mail strikes, I'm just laughing about this one because, they're going on, I mean, obviously they sold it off a couple of years ago, right? But they've given out something like 1.9 billion, right, to the shareholders, right? And they're fighting with their staff. No, you can't have no more money. What do you need more money for? Right, just go and walk it off. Whatever it is, take this big sack with you and go and walk it off. A lot of them bitches, they walk 10, 12 miles a day, right? But it's just amazing that this country, how this country has been allowed to get into this state, right? Now, obviously because we've got strikes all over this. I mean, 2,000 bus drivers in London was on strike the other day, so obviously that crippled the service. And now we've got like some road workers who are going to coordinate their strikes with the rail strikes. So, so again, problems on the road. So again, problems on the road, and then problems on the railways as well. And then obviously, if those 2,000 bus drivers decide they're going to go on strike as well, and then you've got like lecturers, you've got all sorts of different people throughout the NHS, right, who are going to be striking. The nurses are going on strike on the 15th, and I think the 20th of December, right. You've got all sorts of different industries just going on strike. Obviously, because it's the way how the country's been run. But, a lot of the Tory MPs are just like, something, I'm out of here. Even because it's Savage Javid, or Zippy, as you like to call him, right, decided that he's not going to be running in his Bromsgrove constituency again. And something, I had a look at his voting record, and his voting record is it's horrible. Do you know what I mean? He's voted against, he voted to sell off our forests, voted against voted against disabled people, against the unemployed, everything. Anyway, what his voting is typical Tory, because they all vote the same. When it comes down to it, they're regimented like that, and they all vote the same way all the time. And let's speak about some Brexit, because I haven't done a video for 3 days, and today is Saturday, so it's very unusual for me to be doing a video on a Saturday. But I haven't really had a chance all week. I've had so much on all week, and I've had so much problems to deal with. So let's speak about some Brexit, because Brexit has put an extra £200, and some people, I've seen it somewhere, there's £215 on our food bills in the last 2 years, down to Brexit. And where's Nigel Farage? I'm sure Nigel Farage said that if Brexit was started going badly, he would leave the country. Motherfucker's still here. But yeah, so 200. It's about probably 210, 220 pounds extra on our food bills in the last 2 years, and then obviously we've got the cost of living. Oh, that is cost of living. Then we've got obviously the extra utility cost on top of that. Boy, oh boy, all right. Who decided to vote for this Brexit thing? Who was that done that? I don't know. Not me. Brexit has added £6 billion to the UK food bills, says the Independent. What the hell are they independent of? Not Brexit. Because they should just keep out of our business, right, and go and try and sell some more copies. Because when you put independence in the flipping shop, there's only about 4 copies anyway. So who the hell reads that? But £6 billion on our food bills, not individually. Because that would suggest that you had to have £6 billion first of all, not Donald Trump after all. But £6 billion on our food bills, which relates to around £220 each person. Brexit Britain, trapped in the middle of a trade war between the US and the EU. Yeah, that's about right. Because both of them are saying, both of those people are telling us what we can. You know what we should do, yeah? Is we should have I saw one of the football shirts, yeah, with it was half Wales and half England. I was like, yeah. Obviously the Welsh are they're coming home. I think they are home. If they think it's all over, it is for you. But that's what we should do. We should have like a t-shirt over here with like half American and half EU, right? Because we're stuck in the middle of the trade war between these two bigger entities than us, and somehow we're stuck in the middle. It's a shame, really, isn't it? But I suppose that was Brexit, and that was always going to happen. The consequences of the Tory immigration failures will dwarf Brexit troubles, says the Telegraph. I don't understand what the Tories are actually doing with this, because at the moment you've got like, the numbers, what people are seeing are obviously the highest ever. But unfortunately, right, it's all the wrong kind of people. Right? I don't say the wrong kind of people. What I mean is, it's not people coming over to do the jobs that actually need doing. A lot of these people who are coming over are students, and then you've got like, obviously the Ukrainians, and then you've got like people from Hong Kong, isn't it, or Japan, coming over as well. Do you know what I mean? So you've had thousands of them, and then obviously your students, and then people who coming over to do highly paid jobs. So and the jobs that was really needed was the fruit and the vegetables and that in the fields, and obviously hospitality needs like thousands and thousands of people as well. But all of those jobs, a lot of those jobs are minimum wage, and the only people who can do minimum wage jobs in this country are Brits. See, because what we want to do, we want to get rid of all the immigrants so that we could do all the minimum wage jobs ourselves, and then get all the immigrants to come over here to be the boss. I don't know, but something about that says to me it's supposed to work the other way round. The migrants are supposed to come over here to do those jobs, and the people over here are supposed to be the boss. But that's what you call a lack of education. And the SNP leader, Ian Blackford, I believe, has called Brexit the elephant in the room. And he could as well, because you know what, between Starmer and who's the Conservative leader now? Oh, Rishi the stick insect. Between those people, Starmer and None of them can talk about it. Well, Rishi Sunak, well, he's quick to talk about it. He's quick to say, I voted for Brexit. I always wanted Brexit. And I mean, when he was at school, he was writing papers about Brexit. And I was seriously, he was writing papers about Brexit when he was at school. I suppose that's why he's the Prime Minister. See? Can't be mocking stuff like that, because you know, you look at, you know, because when I was that age, if there was someone in my school that was writing papers like that, right, we would have beaten them up, right? But that would be the wrong thing to do, because that person could now be the Prime Minister, like Richard Sticken said. Anyway, guys, look, I have to make a move, right? Because I've been on like I knew I was going to go a bit over on this video because, you know, as I said, I haven't done a video for a few days. But I will be back on Monday, bright and early. So I have to bid you all a fantastic weekend, and I will see you all next week. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.